Hello, this is Lady B, and with me is my niece, Miss Fawn.
Hi.
And this week we have a funeral to go to.
Yeah.
And because drama is writ large upon both our souls, when my niece, Miss Fawn, mentioned that she wanted to wear a black veil to the funeral, I, of course, ran out and bought the material to make one for her. So that is what I am doing today. So, it's really not complicated, but I have no idea how long this is going to take to make. So let's get started. The first thing I did is I bought a yard of tulle.
Mm-hmm.
You love this, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. And I've squared it off. I've cut it to a square, so it's a yard square. And I need to make a circle. So I have here a dressmaking pencil. You can use chalk, or they have fabric markers that actually will wash out in the wash. You could use that too and then throw it in the washer. But I like this because it will just wipe off. And I'm just going to mark a quarter circle on the fabric. I folded it into fourths, folded in half, and then folded in half again. So I just need to try and make it look circle-like. Wish me luck on this.
Circles are hard to make, so.
Quarter circles are a lot easier, though, than half circles. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because when you wear it, it's going to fall in these gentle falls, and that will help disguise a lot of errors. All right, so it's that simple. I don't know how well you can see it in the camera. Let me carefully lift this, see if we can catch it at all.
Yeah, just barely.
Does it show?
Yeah, just barely.
Just barely? Well, that's how it doesn't show. That's about how much it shows here, too.
Yeah.
So now that that's been done, I'm going to push my hair out of my way. And I'm just going to follow that line and cut my circle. Now, if you want to be more precise, you can take a string and tie it to a pencil and then hold it in the corner and then do it this way. And that way you know for sure you will get a perfect circle. We're not that picky.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to hold on to this and use it later when I do the beading. But there's our circle. Shall we see how it worked out? Now that we've already cut it. Oh, I think that worked.
Lay it on me.
Lay it on you. Oh yes, perfect. Just like that. Let me go forward. There we go. Just to the neck here in front and past the shoulders in the back, which was exactly what we wanted. So, at this point, my next step is to, well, fact is, this is a tulle, so I could just leave it like this, but I want it to look like a finished veil, so I am going to do a hand-sewn and hand-rolled hem on this, which I have no idea how long this is going to take. So the two of us are going to hang out on the couch back there while I figure out how to do this. But first I'm going to do a close-up so you can see how it's done. So I have my circular veil here, and I have a length of thread. This is just a straight cotton poly thread that just multi-purpose, nothing special about it. I've cut a length of it, and I have my needle here. You can see that, just this little teeny sharp needle. Not that it really needs to be that sharp. And I'm going to thread my needle And then I'm going to tie a knot in the end, which I have actually already done. I have tied a double knot because that's what I always do, but also because this is tulle. Don't know if you can see that. And the holes are a little larger than perhaps a standard fabric would be. So I wanted to guarantee that it wouldn't come through. So I'm going to take my edge and I fold it over 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just going to hold it with my thumb. This doesn't require ironing or anything. And underneath that 1/4 of an inch, I'm just going to take a little bit, just a teeny stitch through the fabric. And you do want to keep it small because it will show up on the veil in this case. It's the same thing you would do for a hand-rolled scarf too. Now that I have that stitch, I'm going to come up to the top of this fold I have made, straight above my stitch, and I'm going to go through in between the two fabrics for 1/2 inch. In between the two layers. And I don't pull it tight, I just pull it through. Then I'm going to again come down below that 1/4 inch, take a teeny stitch, and then come back up again and go in between the two pieces of fabric at the very top 1/2 inch. And I'm going to keep doing that 4 or 5 times. Continuing to fold over and keeping that edge consistent as much as possible. Now, this is what it's going to look like. If you can see that. Let me hold that up to the camera. A little closer. So you can see what that looks like. Now, this is the cool part. Every 4 or 5 of these combined stitches, or 6 or 7, every so often, you're going to pull that tight, and that just rolls your hem like that. And then after you pull it tight, you just run your finger along it to make sure you didn't over tighten it, and then you continue stitching. It's that simple, but we'll see how long it takes. I have cut out a small piece of felt, and I'm placing it on a piece of scrap of my netting, my tulle, and cutting out an extra large bit around it. that. And what this is for is I will be sewing this onto my comb that I will be using to attach it with. Where did my, there it is, there's my thread. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my netting over this, fold it again this way, so it's folded on either side. I'm starting with this corner. I'm just going to tack this on the end. Okay, so I've tacked the end here, and I'm just going to tie it off really quick. Make a loop, leave a little bit of this loop, and go through it twice from the same direction, and then tighten it, create a knot. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. Going to fold it down and then fold those in to the inside. And then I'm just going to take my needle and tack that down. It doesn't have to be pretty at this stage. And tie it off. So I have made it just large enough that I should be able to sew between my forks here on the comb and close up the ends. So the first thing I'm going to do is close up these ends. And this will just make it a little easier for me to tuck this in for my starting point. And now I'm going to start sewing it closed between these. And for what size I did, I literally just wrapped the felt around and cut it to whatever fit. There's no measuring, just wrapped and cut. Okay, so I'm getting close to the end here. I only have 2 more to do, so I'm going to show how to do it. What I'm doing is I'm pushing the needle through, bringing it over from where it is, pushing it through through the gap in there, through both pieces of fabric on both sides. Both sides of the fabric, just straight through. Pulling it through to the end. Then I bring the thread back through the tine back to where I came from, and then pushing it through the fabric, both of them at the same time. And this, pulling it tight, then tacks it down. Then I come over to the next one, and I do that again from the side where the thread is. So each time I go through, I'm going from this side, then I'm going from that side, then this side, then that side. So I'll push that through both the sides. Swing that through it, and then push it through again. There we go. And now that I've gotten to the end here, I just need to tack that closed. So I will come through the end here, making sure not to get it tangled on my comb, and I'm just sewing it in a loop, catching it through both sides. And this will give me, like I said, this will give me something to attach my veil to. Attach the veil to. I just pulled it out of the needle. And so that I can sew the veil to it. And if the comb gets broken, or I get a better quality one and I want to replace it out, I just have to cut the stitches attaching it to the comb, and I can transfer it to a new comb. And then I just tie it off. And then to hide my end, I'm going to push my needle through the fabric. Pull that through, and then clip my end, and this will hide my end. Ta-da! I have, ooh, let's not lose that needle. So now I have this hair comb covered in a combination of felt and tulle for attaching the veil, which is what we'll do next. So, I'm going to put it in a bun, now we're not keeping this in so it doesn't have to be tight. I'm going to come down about this far, about 5-6 inches, and braid it. And we pull that up, we're going to bring this up to your braid and tie it off. Good enough. Now bringing your hair back to where we tied it originally. Making sure it's nice and pretty. We start the twist. Create the twist this way. And we bring the braid around.
It doesn't feel that tight.
It's not, but that's okay. Then I tuck the ends.
My hair slips easily, so.
It's okay. Put your hand up here. These are mini spin pins. And they are just right for the amount of hair you have. There we go. And that will hold. And it is a little loose in back. We can get it tighter in the day, but this is good enough for what we need. Alright, so now we take the comb and we're going to slide it into your hair. Right there. That is nice and secure, which is what you wanted, right? Yep. Okay, so now we figure out exactly where we want it. That's a little too far down in front. I need you to look straight forward. We want it up a little bit in front. So we want it below the chin, but not necessarily touching the chest. And we want this to your shoulders back here. Let's make sure we have this even. Do you like that? Look in the mirror.
Oh, I love it.
Okay. So now that we have the position, we pin it into place. And that fabric I sewed on is perfect for holding this in place. There we go. And now, and if you pull it back, it will look like this.
Oh, I love it.
And it creates, if you look in the back, turn so they can see it actually creates a double tier in the length in the back. You love that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that tells us where to attach it. Okay, so now that I have pinned the veil where it goes onto my comb, all I need to do is to sew it on. And for that, I'm going to come in from underneath to begin with, so that the knot is under the veil in a place where it won't show. pull that through. And then once again, I'm just going to come around in these loops. I cannot remember what they're called. I should look up what that's called, shouldn't I? I will look up what it's called and post it. And just secure it down. I should actually time lapse this, but I'm already 1/3 done. This is very fast. Okay, so now that I've gotten to the end, I'm going to take another stitch, but this time I'm not bringing it back up. I'm going to take it to the inside. Once I untangle my thread, take it to the inside in here, flip this over, and I will tie this off, pushing my needle through. Before trimming the end to disguise the ends and help hide it. So there is only one thing left to do now, and that is to add a little bit of decoration on the top of the comb. Just help hide the stitches. Not that they show. Black on black, like I said, hides it very well. It's almost impossible to see already. But we wanted to add a few beads. We have these little glass beads, and they're just clear glass, but they remind Miss Fawn of raindrops, and the person whose funeral we'll be attending loved the rain. So we wanted to add just a scattering of them along the ridge. So for this I need my beading needles. If you've never used beading needles, they are really, really, really thin. See if you can even see those. They are so thin that they come with one of these for threading them because they're so hard to thread. You take your beading needle and put this through the eye hole, and you get your thread, and you put the thread through the loop that has been created, and then pull back, and it threads your needle for you, because they're just so skinny that it's extremely difficult to do otherwise. So I'm going to again start from this side so I can hide the knot. I'm going to come up here, and I'm just going to put a scattering of these beads on. Now the thing about beads like this is if the thread breaks and they're all on the same string, you can lose all your beads. They'll fall off and they'll all scatter. So when you're doing beading like this, it's a good idea every 3 or 4 beads to drop a knot in it. I think that's the last bead. So since this is the last bead, I'm going to put my needle in, and again I'm going to go to the underside. Oops. I pulled it off my needle, so now I have to restring it. And then I'm just going to do the same thing I did before, where I'm going to tie it off, knot it, and then pass the needle through to disguise the end before trimming it. There we go. A circular veil with a slightly off-center set comb with beading. I think it turned out beautifully, don't you? You can speak.
It did.
It did. And we put it on, and it looks like this. It's just going to be gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Though I do believe you prefer it like this.
Yeah.
And there we have it. All done. Ready to be worn. So. I love you all, whether new or old. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Until then, whether making a veil for whatever the occasion might be, or any other sewing or craft, remember, don't be afraid to suit yourself and make whatever it is you do exclusively you. Sometimes I joke that there's little mice running around upstairs. Only they're really big mice. Not little mice.
They are, what's it called? A acronym?
Rouse?
Yeah.
Rats of unusual size.